Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to Behind the Mission, our special series where we talk all about what it takes and what it's like to work at the World Bank Group. I'm your host, Srimati Sridhar, and it's my pleasure to be guiding you through the next 30 minutes or so as we talk about how to navigate a career at the World Bank Group with our Vice President for Human Resources, Annette Dixon. In this position, Annette provides strategic leadership to the institution on talent development, and she oversees all HR policies, programs, and services to support the bank group's global workforce. Now, as a senior leader at the World Bank Group, Annette will be sharing her insights and advice on how to not only start a career in development, but how to make it a fulfilling one. Now, before we get started, I do want to extend a warm welcome to those of you that are joining us online. It's great to have you here, and make sure you share your questions with us in the comments section of this chat. You can also follow along online using the hashtag BehindTheMissionWBG, and we look forward to hearing from you. With that being said, Annette, welcome to Behind the Mission, and it's great to have you here with us today.
Thanks very much.
So Annette, let's kick off by learning a little bit more about your background. You've worked in international development for quite some time now, so what attracted you to this field, and why do you think professionals should consider it as a potential career path?
Well, speaking from my own experience, I came to the World Bank initially to work in operations. I came mid-career and I thought I would come for a couple of years, and really it would be great experience to work in the World Bank to get a more global perspective and to work in developing countries. And what happened was I fell in love with the bank's mission, and I fell in love with the people who work here. The people who work at the World Bank Group are really, really specialized, very well trained, very smart people. But most importantly, they're all really committed to the bank's mission of eliminating poverty in the world. So you couldn't really find a workplace with nicer people anywhere in the world, in my view.
Yeah, and that passion certainly comes through. But, we know that it's hard to get a job at the World Bank Group considering the thousands of applications you receive every year. So, what insights can you offer for people who would like to work here, but maybe just don't know where to start?
Well, it's true that it is very competitive to get hired at the World Bank Group, but a couple of things I think would help people. Firstly, we hire into offices all over the world. We have about 100 offices, and so not all the jobs are in Washington, D.C. So when you are looking at careers in the World Bank, you should look in developing countries and all over the world to see what's being offered. Secondly, is we really hire people who already have expertise in a particular area. And this is broad. It's not just economists, it's sector specialists. We hire public health physicians, we hire education specialists, we hire engineers, we hire hydro dam specialists, environmentalists, people who work in climate change. So the careers are very, very diverse, but we are looking for people who are well-trained and expert in their field in order to help the countries that we serve.
And I think these are really, very important notes to take into consideration here. Well, folks, if you're just joining us, welcome to our series Behind the Mission, where today I'm speaking with the World Bank Group's Vice President for Human Resources, Annette Dixon, on how to navigate a career at the World Bank Group. I want to thank you all so much for joining me here today, and I actually want to take this moment now to ask Annette some of the questions that you've been submitting to us online. Annette, we've got a question here from Kwame Bonsu in Ghana, who wants to know more specifically about the recruitment process. So, what are the specific processes and how long does it all take?
Sure. Well, when we advertise a vacancy, it's for a specific job. So in that case, people send in applications, and we can get anything from 80 to 800 applications for a particular job, depending on the job. We do a process of long listing, and from that we identify the people who are most qualified for this position, and we shortlist and interview. And the whole process, from beginning to end, we aim to finish that process in 90 days. And everybody who applies should hear at the outcome at the end of the 90 days, including the people who have been unsuccessful and when the position is closed. Now, a couple of things I think are important here. Firstly, a lot of people send us their curriculum vitae in the hope that we will look at it and hire them. We generally do not hire unless there's a specific advertised vacancy. Second thing that's important is look carefully at the requirements for that position to make sure that you not only have the technical expertise that we're looking for, but also the years of experience, because different jobs at different grade levels are asking for a different amount of experience. So do look carefully and apply for those jobs that you have the closest fit for. So I hope that's helpful to you, Kwame.
Great, Annette. And let's pick up on a bit of what you were talking about with years of experience, because Lorado Karang in Botswana says that when you look at the Generation X and the Generation Y youth who graduate earlier, they often struggle with employment to build sufficient experience. So how do you support and include this demographic when it comes to recruitment?
Sure. Well, I think we have two different ways that younger people, younger than me, can try to join the World Bank. The first is for current students and recent graduates. There are a couple of things to watch out for. Firstly, we do have a summer internship program. Applications generally open around December 1, and that's for existing students to get some work experience at the World Bank. We also hire analysts who are generally 1 or 2 years of work experience. So that's just postgraduates. And sometimes people can get hired as short-term consultants. So that's the first level. The second level is something called the Young Professionals Program. And actually that definition of young is a bit larger, because here we are recruiting people who already have graduate degrees and some work experience, and the cutoff age is up to 32 years old. Now, this is a very competitive program. We advertise it once a year. We generally get somewhere between 10, 11, 12,000 applicants, and we hire only 50 people from that scheme. It's a very rigorous process, but that is another way that people can come after finishing graduate school and when they have some experience, particularly experience working in developing countries. So watch out for, as I said, watch out for things that are advertised on our websites and on LinkedIn, and look very carefully at the educational qualifications, the technical expertise that we're hiring for, as well as the years of service, and try and focus your attention on those where your profile fits best.
Definitely, Annette, those are some great points. And the YPP is certainly a great opportunity for folks to consider getting their foot in the door. For the final question here from our online audience, Grace Gomez in France wants to know, what are the must-haves in terms of skill sets that the bank group might be looking for in some of these positions?
Well, we're looking for people not only who have technical expertise, but people who have a commitment to development. And we want people who are really passionate about helping developing countries. And that can be working with governments, or it can be working with the private sector to help grow the private sector and create more jobs in developing countries. But we really want people who've got passion, what we call fire in the belly. When I joined the bank, we used to say that our mission was to fight poverty with passion and professionalism, and that I really related to that. Secondly, you need to be really well prepared if you get to an interview and really have case studies and examples of things you have done which show that you not only have the technical expertise, but you have the ability to help clients. And here we are looking for outstanding communication skills, teamwork, collaboration, and problem-solving skills, because the problems our clients have are very complex, and we have to be really working hard to help them find the right solutions that they need to solve their development problems.
Absolutely. And, Annette, looking at the kind of questions that have been coming in online, I think this is actually an excellent segue into our next segment, which is all about common myths around working at the World Bank Group. So I've got a few myths for you here and would love to get your reaction to these. So tell me what you think. The first myth says that you have to have a PhD or be an economist to work at the World Bank Group. What do you think?
Well, I don't have either. I have a master's level degree in public policy. I'm not an economist. But it's true, there are a lot of economists here. But as I said, we have engineers, we have health specialists, we have, people with environmental biodiversity backgrounds. We have people who work on legal issues, finance, public financial management. And of course, in IFC, which is the part of the World Bank Group that supports private sector development in developing countries, we have people with a lot of private sector experience. So as I said, a lot of people working here, it's true, are economists, and a lot have PhDs, but that's not required for all positions.
Okay, good to know. Now for myth number 2, we touched upon it briefly with one of the online audience questions, but I think it's important to drive this point home. Tell me, do you need years and years of experience to get a job at the World Bank Group?
Well, we do hire a lot of people mid-career with lots of experience. That's true. But as I said earlier, we do hire young professionals, and we do have analyst level positions, which are at sort of 1 or 2 years post-graduation. Now, in the countries where we are working, we also have administrative and support functions. So staff can apply locally for those jobs if you have expertise in IT, in finance and accounting, in human resources, or in administration. And so there are jobs available in those groups, but they tend to be in the countries we serve. Not so many jobs here in Washington, D.C., where we're headquartered and where I'm speaking to you from.
Sure. And for our final myth here, Annette, is it true that the only way to get a job at the World Bank Group is if you know someone?
Definitely not. I can say I hardly knew anybody when I applied, and actually I think if you do know somebody, it's useful to talk to them about the kinds of things that we're looking for. But you can do a lot of that research online. I really encourage you, if you apply for a job, really do your research. Look at not only the job description, but the work that we're doing in your field, to understand the kinds of things that we're asking people to work on in the organization.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more, Annette. Thanks for dispelling some of those myths. I think this really helps viewers, differentiate between what's fact and what's fiction when it comes to navigating a career here at the World Bank Group. Now, as we near the end of our program, tell me, what do you think makes the World Bank different from other institutions? Why should folks want to work here with us?
Well, it's, firstly, we're a cooperative bank owned by all the countries in the world. So it is a global institution. So you join the World Bank Group, you can join in any office that we have. We have over 100 offices around the world. And you can join and be part of an international organization. And there are opportunities for people who work here to move around, to live and work in different countries. When you come to work at the World Bank, we are asking our people to work in the poorest and the most fragile countries in the world. So you really have to want to work in development to work in our organization. Very few of our jobs are actually based in our headquarters. If you work in either World Bank or IFC operations, you should expect to be living and working in developing countries. So that's one of the things that you need to know you're signing up for.
And I think certainly it's a very important point that folks remember that there are opportunities beyond what is in HQ here in Washington, D.C. Well, Annette, for this last question here, we've got to talk about the COVID-19 pandemic. It is front and foremost on all of our minds right now. And With no certainty as to when the pandemic will be resolved, how would you say COVID-19 has impacted the bank's hiring plans, if at all? Is there anything folks should, keep in mind or be aware of if they look to apply for a position right now?
Well, one of the things, because we're a development organization, our clients need us even more in the middle of this pandemic. Because for most countries, this is not only a health emergency, it's an economic and a social disaster as well. Poor people are really being affected, jobs are being lost, kids are out of school, and of course, people are dying from COVID. So our clients need us even more. And in that context, we have not stopped hiring. We are continuing to onboard people all over the world virtually. People are starting their jobs from wherever they are and are working. We have over 16,000 employees around the world, and nearly all of us are working from home. And you can see I'm in my apartment here today as well. And so we have not slowed down. And in fact, it's the opposite. We are more in demand than ever. This is the biggest crisis in the history of the World Bank Group, and we need to be standing with our clients, helping them at this time.
Well, Annette, I think that is certainly a strong and very reassuring note to end on. I want to thank you again so much for joining me here on Behind the Mission today.
Thanks very much, and I hope many people will think about the World Bank Group if they're interested in development.
Absolutely. Well, folks, that was Annette Dixon, the World Bank Group's Vice President for Human Resources. Make sure to follow her on LinkedIn as she shares with us some updates in recruitment and career developments as they unfold. I want to thank you, our online audience, for joining us here today, and we hope that this conversation has inspired you even just a little bit to think about joining us here in our work to end poverty. You can continue to follow the conversation online using the hashtag BehindTheMissionWBG, and don't forget to follow us right here on LinkedIn as well. Now, remember, you can always check the latest career openings on our job site. In fact, right now, we've got over 70 jobs posted, so do head on over and check that out. In the meantime, it was great having you here with us today. Stay healthy, stay safe. I'm Srimati Sridhar, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.